Welcome back to the show, everybody. You know what I've been binging recently? Analog horror. Why did I say it like that? But yes, analog horror is my jam. And I know that for some people this is strictly an internet thing, but I'm talking about movies here as well. Backrooms? Hell yeah. Late Night with the Devil? Bring it on. Skinamarink? I kinda liked it. There's always gonna be something creepy about old VHS footage. TV static, blurry footage. It's a vibe, as the kids would say. And the horror of these movies and videos usually comes in the form of something creepy, hidden in the background, hidden in the noisy footage. It makes it feel like what you're watching is real. It's very immersive. And of course, I couldn't talk about this subgenre without bringing up the ever so popular VHS franchise. Yes, VHS, the horror anthology found footage franchise with crazy ass stories ranging from monsters to zombies to cults to aliens to monster penises. I'm sure that's somebody's weird kink. These movies are a ton of fun, and although I didn't like Viral very much, and the OG VHS is a little too rapey for my taste, I would still consider this franchise to be one of the more consistent in terms of quality. 7 movies in, they're still making bangers. In fact, the latest entry, VHS Beyond, which came out last month, is one of my favorites of the franchise. Definitely in my top 3. So over the last weekend, I decided to binge every VHS movie so that we could do a little ranking list of every single segment from every single entry, ranked from worst to best. Before we do that though, quick heads up, I'm not gonna put the wraparound segments in my list because I feel like they don't really count. So to get this out of the way, let's just talk about each one real quick, starting with tape 56 from VHS 1. And in this one, a group of idiot douchebags break into a house to steal a VHS tape, and then, I don't know, I guess an elderly zombie kills them? It's fine. It serves as an excuse to introduce each tape while adding some extra spooks here and there. I don't mind it. VHS 2 gives us tape 49, and well, if you've ever wanted to see Hollywood screenwriter Simon Barrett's penis, this one's got you covered.
That's a penis!
This wraparound is very similar to the previous one, but better. Once again, people break into a house, find a pile of cursed VHS tapes, and then spooky things happen. But this one had better tension building, there's a very eerie vibe throughout the whole thing, and then it ends with a creepy-ass lady crawling on the floor. Yeah, this was perfectly enjoyable, and it didn't overstay its welcome. After that, we unfortunately got Vicious Circles from VHS Viral, which is the worst movie of the franchise, with the worst wraparound segment. This movie's so bad they stopped making VHS movies for 7 whole years. I guess even they were embarrassed about it. So Vicious Circles is a bit of a confusing, disjointed mess. There is a police chase going on around a neighborhood, and everybody sort of goes crazy. I guess there's an attempt at a social commentary on people being obsessed with going viral online, which is fitting and still somewhat relevant, but it's muddled with a bunch of different plot lines, each less interesting and more confusing than the last. A girl getting revenge on a guy for posting her nudies on the internet, gangsters killing each other, cops being run over, dead lady with an iPhone shoved in her mouth. What is happening? I guess I liked the chaos, the apocalyptic vibe of it all, but for the most part, I just kept thinking, what the f*** is going on? In 2021, the franchise made its triumphant return with the beloved VHS 94, and this one's wraparound segment is called Holy Hell. It's about this SWAT team raiding a warehouse for what seems to be a drug bust. They find a bunch of dead bodies, and of course, cursed VHS tapes, but whoops, turns out the ladies from the SWAT team are actually part of the creepy cult responsible for all this death.
We're the final girls.
They're the final girls, and they make nasty snuff films as a side hustle. How do I know this? Because they explain it all to the audience like a Bond villain at the end.
This is a far-out fetish film cult. We deal in contraband content, strictly VHS. Definitely illegal.
Oh really? Holy Hell was pretty fun, aside for a bit of cringe with the final reveal.
It's our videotapes that are the villain. Our videotapes are gonna fuck you up.
There's neat, creepy, occult imagery and a constant sense of unease. It's one of the better ones of the franchise. In VHS 99, we don't have much of a frame narrative, but instead a World War II stop-motion animation with little toy soldiers. The stop-motion was amusing, I guess. I didn't mind this, but it was definitely not a necessary addition to the movie.
Oh my God, Anderson, are you alive? Tell it to me straight, Sarge. Am I gonna die?
After that comes VHS 85, but I'm gonna put this one on the actual ranking list because the frame narrative is also a segment. It's not just a clumsy way to tie everything together. And lastly, we have Abduction from VHS Beyond. And this kind of blurs the line between a mockumentary and an actual documentary. I mean, it ends with a gray alien shoving a camera in a guy's throat, so yeah, it's probably fiction, but for the most part, this is straight up a documentary about aliens. We learn why we've come to think they have oval-shaped eyes, big round spaceships, and of course my favorite, the whole anal probing thing.
Anal probes.
To make it feel more authentic, they got YouTubers in there. It was made by a real documentarian. At one point I forgot this was fiction and I was just interested in knowing more about UFOs. I think it's a fun little palate cleanser in between each segment with an amusing ending. And those are all of the VHS wraparound segments, which range from bad to okay to confusing to really good. But now that that's out of the way, how about we get to the ranking already? So without further ado, let's start with my least favorite VHS segment at number 31, and it's gonna be Bone Storm from VHS Viral, aka the worst VHS movie. It took a while for me to pick a worst one, but after thinking long and hard about it, yeah, I think it's the one I dislike the most. It's all the more surprising seeing that the directors of Resolution and The Endless made this. I really enjoyed those movies. These guys are clearly talented at making horror movies that have depth, interesting themes, complex human characters, and yet with Bone Storm, I simply felt nothing. Maybe it's because I'm dead inside, that probably didn't help. Anyways, this one is about a group of annoying, bratty teenage skateboarders who go to Tijuana to film a skating video. But then a bunch of demon-worshipping cultists show up, which leads to an epic battle between snot-nosed kids and skeletons. Then they tease a giant creature at the end, but sorry, we're not gonna show it. And that's it. Well, I liked the skeletons, I guess. They looked pretty cool, and this shot made me laugh.
Fucker!
Fuck.
But otherwise, oof, I did not vibe with this one. I guess the best way to describe it is it feels awkward and nonsensical. These kids just found out that evil living skeletons are a thing that exists. Their friends just got brutally murdered, and that's their reaction.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, they just start beating the shit out of them without a care in the world, as if they were casually playing a video game. They don't seem startled or scared in the slightest, and neither is the audience. You don't care about anyone, the GoPro fight scenes are nothing spectacular, and I'm already starting to forget about it. I think the moment the skeleton flipped the kids off before exploding is when I realized I kinda hated this whole thing. At number 30, we have Dante the Great, once again from VHS Viral. And this was directed by the guy who made Siren, which is the movie based on Amateur Night from VHS 1. I guess he's more talented at making movies about man-eating sirens than man-eating capes. Yes, Dante the Great did not live up to his title. Done in a mockumentary style, this one's about this dumbass magician who finds a magic cape and becomes famous, but then realizes he has to feed the cape for it to work. So he starts killing people. Whatever. I didn't care about this one. I mean, they're having fun with it. It's a little silly. They tried something different, which I'm all for, but it's just a lot of illogical nonsense, shoddy attempts at scaring the audience with no success, and a mostly uninteresting narrative. The finale had some fun moments though. Lots of action and violence and fun visuals and... wait, who's holding the camera here? Like, what's the point of making a found footage segment if it's not even gonna be found footage? This is just shot like any movie. I don't get it. Overall, I don't hate Dante the Great. I think it's got some fun moments, but it is far from being perfect. The mockumentary idea was interesting and different, but they didn't really do anything with it. The whole thing was neither funny nor scary. I still think the finale is pure fun schlock, but then he started throwing anime fireballs at the end, and I kinda mentally checked out at that point. All in all, Dante the Great feels like an R-rated Goosebumps episode, and a particularly lame one at that.
Ta-da.
At number 29 comes the first hot take of the night, possibly, and it's gonna be To Hell and Back from VHS 99, directed by the couple who made Deadstream. I like Deadstream enough, it's a good time, but I unfortunately did not enjoy this segment all that much. I guess the best way I can describe it is, imagine the guys from Superbad being stuck in hell, but without the comedic chops to make it fun. Similar to Deadstream, they took the funny, quirky horror comedy route, but I wasn't really laughing, I wasn't very scared, and I checked my watch a couple times. So To Hell and Back is about these videographers hired to film a bunch of witches doing a ritual, but then an uninvited demon shows up and teleports the two guys to hell, and now they're trapped in there and they need to find an escape. And this all sounds very fun on paper, it's just the execution didn't really work for me, especially the tone.
No, you don't know how to fight.
Yes, I do. I took martial arts.
No, you didn't.
When I was a kid, I did.
The characters are throwing Marvel quips every 12 seconds.
It was like Qui-Gon or Pokemon or some shit.
Mind you, they've just been sent to literal hell, where they should be terrified beyond measure. But no, they make silly jokes.
I shouldn't be here. I go to church.
Listen to me, there's no such thing as hell, okay? And you don't even go to church.
And then at one point, Discount Golem shows up, and I just... What are we doing here? Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of VHS segments that blend horror and comedy very well. They're some of my favorite segments, but the comedy in this one just did not work for me. Otherwise, I mean, they did their best with what they had, but hell looks more like a cheap set. They went for a Doom-inspired look, but it's visually pretty ugly. But the one place this segment shines, what I really loved about it, are these weird demonic monsters that show up once in a while. These creature designs here are on point. This is the stuff nightmares are made of. There's some fun bloody kills as well when they start fighting the Mad Max looking demons. So, you know, a couple of fun things here and there, but that's about it. At number 28, we have another segment from VHS 99. It's The Gawkers, from the director of last year's It's a Wonderful Knife. And The Gawkers is about a bunch of dumb kids pulling stupid pranks and making skating videos. Wait a minute, didn't we talk about this one already? Nope, guess this is a different one with different obnoxious, annoying kids. Yes! Ultimately though, it's about them peeping on their hot neighbor, who turns out to be a horrifying monster. Which is fun, but oh boy does it take a while for things to get moving. At first, The Gawkers did make me feel nostalgic for when I was a stupid kid hanging out with friends at the skate park, but that little rush of nostalgia quickly turned into a bore fest. Again, it's very similar to Bone Storm, and both segments unfortunately share similar problems. It's mostly just dumb kids fucking around being annoying, and it drags on and on for what seemed like hours before something fun finally happens. I do prefer the monster in this one over the skeletons though. Didn't expect Medusa to show up, so that was nice. And the kills were pretty fun. I was having a good time with that ending, even if it does feel like a much weaker version of Amateur Night from VHS 1, but The Gawkers is ultimately not very engaging for the most part, and not a very memorable segment in this franchise. Next up at number 27, we have God of Death from VHS 85. This one's directed by Gigi Sol Guerrero. Did I say that right? No. And this one takes place in Mexico, where people are trying to get out of a building during a massive earthquake for about 90% of the runtime, until it becomes a very straightforward demon possession story. So yeah, we eventually get some horror stuff, but for the most part, God of Death is a disaster movie. And a pretty good one at that. I mean, being trapped in this building that's completely falling apart is a scary idea. The whole thing is very tense, it's very claustrophobic, it's very well made, and I enjoyed it. But in the end, it's mostly just people trying to survive a natural disaster, and that's not necessarily what I'm looking for in a VHS segment, personally. Then they introduce the old Aztec statue possessing people, which is good fun, but we've seen this a million times at this point. It's a whole lot of setup for a very small payoff where, oh, demon zombies attack people. Again. So yeah, overall, well made, tense, but not my thing, and the finale was okay at best. Our number 26 spot goes to Second Honeymoon from VHS 1, directed by Ty West, who has obviously gone on to make the very popular and beloved X trilogy, which I really liked. Ty West is a very talented director, but I don't think this segment is his best work. So this one is about a married couple who go on a road trip together, but then, at night, a mysterious visitor shows up and kinda fucks with them a little. until they ultimately stab the husband in the neck. And plot twist, turns out his wife was in on it the whole time. So what I love here is the concept. The idea is really creepy. This lady breaking into your motel room and doing whatever she wants while you're sleeping, like that's actually unnerving, and your girlfriend is in on it? Oof, bad luck. But at the end of the day, it's mostly about someone messing around in a motel room, along with us following a rather uncharismatic couple going on a hike and just kind of walking around for a while. And then, okay, he's dead, and here's a little twist. Like, it's good, but I can't say I was thoroughly entertained or fully engaged the whole time. There's some fun foreshadowing here and there, but it mostly felt like padding for me, as they don't fully develop the characters very well. I thought the twist was a little meh. I think a couple of complete strangers would have been even scarier. Like, the idea that some random psychos can just show up and stab you while you sleep. To me, that's more disturbing, but still, I didn't see it coming, so good job. And again, on paper, that shit was really creepy. Uh-oh, did somebody say ghosts? Anyone? Well, I'm gonna say it, because at number 25, we have Phase 1 Clinical Trials from VHS 2. This was written by Simon Barrett and directed by Adam Wingard, the guys behind You're Next, The Guest, Blair Witch, as well as the wraparound segment from the first movie. Wingard also stars in this one as our main character, who suffered an eye injury, so he gets an experimental robotic eye to replace it, which conveniently records everything.
So you guys are gonna sit around watching me take shits?
There's just a little problem though. Turns out this eye makes him see ghosts. Basically, Phase 1 Clinical Trials is a jump scare fest.
That's annoying.
With loud noises and surprisingly not very scary ghosts. I mean, this one is just a guy with eyeliner and some white makeup, kind of like this dumbass. It's a bit underwhelming, isn't it? This is the worst segment from VHS 2, but it isn't bad overall. I had a good time with it. It's just a little forgettable and not as scary as I would have liked. At number 24, we have No Wake, and also Ambrosia from VHS 85. Yes, for the first and only time in this franchise, we get a two-parter, both directed by the guy who did that Wrong Turn reboot, but I haven't seen it. Was it good? Anyway, let's start with No Wake. In this one, a group of friends travel to an abandoned camp, and they have fun water skiing, when all of a sudden, they all get shot to death. Oh my god! It's horribly gruesome and genuinely terrifying. You never see who's shooting, but you know somebody's out there just waiting to put a bullet in between your eyes. Pretty scary stuff. It has a very Friday the 13th reboot vibe, especially with the water ski and the abrupt carnage. But then, to quote one of the characters, things turn into some Pet Cemetery shit.
This is some Pet Cemetery shit.
Somehow the water's magic or something? So they all come back to life, and they decide to get revenge on the shooter. The single best thing about No Wake is that boat set piece. It's very tense. I would not want to be in that position. The rest of the story, though, is a bit of a drag, like a long stretched out setup with a payoff that only comes an hour later. In fact, I don't see why this couldn't have been just one segment. Just trim them down, tighten up the pacing a little, and I feel like people would have loved it a lot more. Now, this brings us to the second part of the story, called Ambrosia, and this follow-up has a bit of a Ready or Not vibe. It's about the Wrigley family, who have this old tradition of having to murder 7 people as a rite of passage.
To the 7!
Still better than Secret Santa, but as we know, the victims didn't really die, so they get revenge. But not in the way you would expect. Instead of just showing up and killing them, they find a way for the crazy shooter lady to come into contact with the magic water, which makes her unkillable. They then call the cops on them, and basically the family rule is to never be taken in alive, because that would be extremely shameful.
Listen, you fight and take your own life. All right, do you understand? Don't let them take you alive, and do not disgrace the family name.
So if you're in trouble, you know, shoot yourself in the head. But since she can't do that because of the Pet Cemetery shit, she's destined to live in shame for the rest of her eternal life. I thought they were going for a straightforward revenge story, but they successfully subverted my expectations, and I liked it. I can't say I'm in love with these two stories or anything. Again, I think I would have just stitched them up instead to make it tighter, but still, it's got some great moments. The group of friends being shot at in the boat, the creepy cultist family, and the fun little twist made this whole thing pretty enjoyable. At number 23, we have The Sick Thing That Happened to Emily When She Was Younger. from VHS 1. This was directed by Joe Swanberg, who plays the husband in Second Honeymoon. Remember him? And it was written by Simon Barrett, who wrote You're Next, The Guest, Blair Witch, and also shows his cock in VHS 2. And this one entirely takes place on a series of Skype calls, which of course later became a bit of a trope with those god-awful Unfriended movies. And this one is about this couple who call each other once in a while so that the girlfriend can show her titties real quick, but then she starts suspecting there might just be a ghost in her apartment. This of course leads to a couple of spooks and jump scares, which is decent fun, until it's ultimately revealed that the boyfriend is part of a group of aliens who use Emily as an incubator to breed alien-human hybrids. Did I get that right? And then the next day, the boyfriend hops on a Skype call with another lady, and the cycle continues. Well, this was unexpected, and I liked how audacious they went with the concept. It could have been a very straightforward ghost story, but no, they went for a mix of haunted house meets sci-fi aliens meets nasty body horror, and it works pretty well overall. But the scariest part of this one is the horrific amount of gaslighting this poor lady goes through.
You deserve to be with someone normal. You know, someone who doesn't have so many problems.
In good VHS 1 fashion, the story is ultimately about an asshole taking advantage of a woman. That's pretty much all this movie is, but this time to a cosmic level where the creatures put little alien embryos into her belly. That's messed up. The whole thing feels a little undercooked though. It's a very long setup for a quick abrupt payoff, and it ultimately left me wanting more. But the sick thing that happened to Emily is undoubtedly effective and disturbing, and I enjoyed it for what it was. Number 22 goes to Shredding from VHS 99, and this one was written and directed by Maggie Levin, who mostly did short films prior to this, but she was a second unit director for The Black Phone, so that's nice. Now, I don't think people enjoy that one a lot, and sure, it's not perfect, but I still do think there's a lot to appreciate here. Shredding is about this obnoxious punk rock band that breaks into this place where 3 years prior, another band died while they were performing. What band, you might ask? Well, Bitch Cat, of course.
Bitch Cat.
They're pretty much the Hex Girls from Scooby-Doo. And guess what? At the end, they come back as zombie rockers to kill the annoying band members one by one. That's it. Shredding works great as a nostalgia trip to 1999. Punk rock bands and pranking videos were inescapable at the time, and they really nailed the whole vibe. The story itself, though, is very simple and very straightforward. I mean, they keep talking about this band that got trampled to death and died in a fire, and then they break into the place where they died. I wonder where this is going. Oh, didn't expect that, but simple doesn't always mean bad. Shredding was perfectly fine for what it was. Our main characters are insufferable though, and by the time they pulled their 37th prank on the same guy, I was starting to check out. Similar to the first VHS movie, it takes a while to get started, and you're stuck with characters you don't really like, but when shit hits the fan, it's very fun. The zombies looked great, there's a whole lot of gore, I was having a good time, and it even ends with the massacred group now possessed by Bitch Cat performing a song on a stage, which is one of my favorite endings in a VHS segment. It's pretty funny. Shredding admittedly feels more like a Shudder Creepshow episode. It's a bit forgettable, but perhaps a little overhated as well. Time for our number 21, Dreamkill from VHS 85. And this one's directed by Scott Derrickson, known for Sinister, Doctor Strange, and The Black Phone. It's a surprisingly big name for such a small-scale movie. And basically, this one's about a kid who dreams of murders, and then the real murders happen a few days later. So this cop Wayne investigates this to try and figure out what the hell is going on, and in between that, we get a few disturbing POV home invasion scenes. And right off the bat, these killer POV scenes are absolutely, hands down, the single best thing about this segment. It's so fucking creepy, it's unnerving, and it's enhanced by the wonderfully eerie score that sounds more like distorted sounds than actual music. Without even looking it up, you can very easily guess this was made by Scott Derrickson. Basically, Dreamkill is the love child of Sinister and The Black Phone. They could all very well take place in the same universe. But things kind of fall apart when we get to the investigation. Not that it's horrible or anything, but I felt bored most of the time. I kept waiting for the next murder scene. Anyway, turns out the kid's dad, who's a forensics videographer and Wayne's friend, was the killer all along. Whoops. So then he goes to the police station, kills a bunch of people, and is ultimately shot in the head by his own son. So, Dreamkill. I'm kinda split on that one. There's a lot of sitting in a room and talking, which isn't a bad thing in itself, but there's just not much conflict or tension. You don't care at all for these characters. And then, after a somewhat weak twist, it becomes an action movie. This was a mediocre investigation story, but with some incredibly effective home invasion horror. Therefore, it falls right in the middle. Trick or Treat. At number 20, we have 10/31/98 from VHS 1. This was directed by Radio Silence, the guys behind Ready or Not and the new Scream movies. And, well, this is from the first VHS movie, so of course, say it all with me. It's about a bunch of douchebags fucking around for 15 minutes until a monster shows up and kills them. Exactly. This time, the group of douchebags got the wrong address for a Halloween party, and they end up in the middle of an exorcism.
What are you doing here?
Whoops. The power of Christ compels them to save the lady being exorcised, and she seems very grateful for it as she fucking leaves them stuck on a railroad. Choo choo, look who's coming. To me, this one feels very middle down the road. It's a neat idea with fun little spooky poltergeist inspired visual effects like pans and pots floating or ghost hands reaching out. It's a good time, but essentially this is a VR haunted house experience with an okay payoff and, once again, annoying dude bro characters I didn't care about. I like the vibe, I like the spooks, it was fine. Our number 19 has a title I probably can't say on YouTube. It's Suicide Bid from VHS 99. This was written and directed by Johannes Roberts. Not sure how to say that name, but he's the guy who directed those 47 Meters Down movies, The Strangers Prey at Night, and Resident Evil Raccoon City. Okay, maybe not the best track record, although a lot of people love that Strangers sequel for some reason, but still, he is a competent director nonetheless. The story is about this girl who's desperate to be part of the coolest sorority of the campus.
Hello.
Hello. But in order to get in, she has to spend the night buried in a coffin. Spooky. But in a surprising turn of events, everything goes pretty well. I'm kidding. The next day, the sorority bitches go back to the grave, but uh-oh. The coffin is empty.
It's empty.
And later that night, the mean girls ironically wake up in their own coffins and get attacked by the zombified girl, along with her new zombie pal.
I made a deal with Guillotine that if she let me go, I'd give her as many sisters as she could possibly want.
Suicide Bid feels a lot like an EC Comics tale. A prank gone wrong and the victim gets revenge. It's ironic and predictable, but fun nonetheless. As a very claustrophobic person myself, I felt like I was trapped in that coffin. Didn't like that. And again, although you know exactly where the story's going pretty early on, it's all about execution, and this one was very well made. I like the spooky ghouls, again straight out of a Tales from the Crypt comic. It's right up my alley. Overall, I had fun with it. Time for number 18, Terror from VHS 94, directed by Ryan Prowse. This one is about a group of asshole white supremacists.
We will take back America.
Who captured a vampire and want to use its magic blood to blow up a building. Only thing is, they're a bunch of incompetent dumbass losers, so things go south pretty quickly. This leads to an explosive creature feature finale, where this creepy ass thing starts killing the idiots one by one. So I really like Terror. Admittedly, there is a lot of f***ing around with annoying douchebags just messing with one another for a while. But this has a narrative purpose. It shows us just how stupid these guys are.
And you're certain the weapon works? The creature?
Of course.
So you tested it?
While also slowly unraveling the mystery behind this vampire, which of course leads to a very satisfying finale. But in the end, the real terror is these guys, who don't seem too far off from reality.
America is plagued by a black cancer.
My number 17 pick goes to Technogod from VHS 85. Technogod was written by Zoe Cooper and directed by Natasha Kermani, and I haven't seen any of their prior work, so I had no idea what to expect. Turns out this was kind of a banger, although it's most likely not for everyone. Like, I get it if you don't like it, but I do. It's about this performance artist, Ada Lovelace.
Who here
here believes in God.
Who basically tells her audience that we killed God by inventing technology and computers.
Your God is dead.
And she does so in a fun, deliberately pretentious performance. Oh my god, what is happening? So she uses this new revolutionary VR headset called the iPhones.
I call this little guy here my iPhones.
That's cute. In an attempt to find a techno god in the digital world, to replace the real god or something. Anyway, once activated, she's transported in a VR Tron-like world where a spooky cyber demon shows up and rips her limbs off. Which sounds ridiculous because it is, and I somehow love it. Technogod is very strange, and perhaps feels half-baked and surface level. But I don't know, I thought the limb-ripping cyber demon was a really fun idea. The pretentious artsy performance was surprisingly entertaining.
It's called art.
The segment doesn't overstay its welcome, it's short and sweet, and I mean, that face reveal at the end, while people are applauding her performance. Yummy! I love it. Again, maybe not for everyone, but it was right up my alley. At the number 16 spot, we have Stowaway from VHS Beyond, written by Mike Flanagan and directed by his wife, Kate Siegel. I mean, these guys don't need an introduction. They're a horror powerhouse duo, but it's the first time Kate actually directed something, and she proves to be a very good director. But as we've come to expect with Flanagan's horror, this isn't a straightforward story where a monster shows up and kills people. It's a much more abstract and complex exploration of an extraterrestrial being. And as much as I love the classic goofy green alien design with big oval eyes, that is not at all what we get here. And you know what? It was a big breath of fresh air for this franchise. What we do get instead is a weird f***ing entity that an aspiring documentarian finds in the desert, and once she enters it, it's this thing that's impossible to make sense of. Things go completely beyond our comprehension, and honestly, it made the cosmos look more frightening than alluring. Now, the very abstract, otherworldly visuals do become a bit nauseating at a certain point. It's a whole lot of bright lights and confusing imagery, and most of the time I kept thinking, what the hell am I looking at here? But this seems very intentional. You're supposed to be confused. This isn't supposed to resemble anything you've ever seen before. As for the main character, played by Elena Pierce, well, I do admire her passion for UFOs, but at a certain point you gotta wonder, what the fuck are you still doing in that spaceship? The moment my severed finger turns into a lizard finger via spliced alien DNA healing? Yeah, I think I'm gonna go. But in the end, it's too late. The door closed, she's stuck in there.
Fuck, where's the door?
And she then embarks on a strange trip deep into space, as her body keeps mutating with various animal DNA until she becomes a horrifying, grotesque monster. Oh my god! Stowaway to me is more interesting than entertaining. I view it more as an experimental sci-fi journey into the unknown. It's very trippy and asks more questions than it answers. And although I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite VHS segments, it's definitely one of the more fascinating and thought-provoking ones. Hello, it's me from the future. You know what? This one really stuck with me. The more I think about it, the more I like it. It's what science fiction should be, and now when I look up at the stars, all I can think of is this horrifying spider creature, this poor lady stuck in the depths of space. It's creepy stuff. I'd probably move it up if I had to do the list again, so just know this one ages like fine wine. At number 15, we have Tuesday the 17th from VHS 1, directed by Glenn McQuaid. And as the title suggests, this is essentially a found footage Friday the 13th parody / homage, except our Jason Voorhees is a camera glitch, which sounds completely stupid, but it somehow works. So Tuesday the 17th is about a group of friends who go on a trip to a lake with their new friend they just met. You know where this is going. They smoke weed, they skinny dip, and of course, get stabbed in the face. But whoops! Turns out the new friend is not here to smoke weed and swim naked with them. No, she's actually using these guys as bait to lure the glitchy slasher villain so she could get revenge after it killed all of her friends a few years ago.
I brought you back because I needed bait.
Huh, that was unexpected. But you all know you can't kill Jason Voorhees, especially not in his glitchy VHS form, so she dies too. Now, this is from VHS 1, so obviously, the dude characters are obnoxious, stupid, unbearable, irritating, and obsessed with filming boobies, or ladies peeing. That's the common recurring theme in that movie, and, well, they do a great job at making you f***ing despise them, so good job, I guess. But it makes the first half of the story a little rough to get through.
I'd fuck me.
But once again, when shit hits the fan, things get very entertaining. Solid kills, solid final girl with a fun twist to her character, and a surprisingly original bad guy. I really like the visual effects in that one, very well made and very creative. Just trim the beginning a little bit, and you got a damn good segment here. Is this a dream? No, it's my number 14, Dream Girl from VHS Beyond. This one's directed by my pal, Virat Pal, and it's about this Bollywood star that also turns out to be a limb-ripping, eye-squishing evil robot. Simple? Short? Effective? Dream Girl was a dream come true, unlike my shitty-ass puns. But yeah, basically this paparazzi sneaks into her trailer, and he tells her that she's a goddess and should be treated better. So she goes, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna kill you all. This leads to one of the bloodiest and goriest finales in VHS history, as the robot slaughters people left and right to the beat of her catchy pop song. Damn, that sounds good. Hey Siri, what's this song? Oh my god! We have a great antagonist here. She's pretty much the love child between the Terminator and Leatherface, an evil AI robot who wants to wear people's faces. Why not? The premise is fun and silly, the Indian Bollywood setting was a breath of fresh air, the gore is nasty as hell, the criticism of star system and soulless greedy producers was a little surface level, but it did the job alright, and the finale, although a little too epilepsy-inducing for my taste, was still visually interesting. Honestly, I don't see what's not to like here. At number 13, we have The Empty Wake from VHS 94. This one was written and directed by Simon Barrett, who, if you've been following along, is the guy with his cock out in VHS 2. I'm pretty sure that's what he's most known for. Anyway, The Empty Wake is very, very simple. A woman is assigned to host a wake, but nobody shows up.
No one showed up to this wake tonight.
So she's left all alone at the funeral home. But the casket seems to be moving. Is the guy really dead? Well, no. The Empty Wake entirely takes place in one single location, with the tension just increasingly building and building, and it's got some great spooky atmosphere. It kinda reminded me of that game, The Mortuary Assistant. Have you ever played that? There's a lady in a morgue being spooked and getting phone calls, and there's a storm outside. There's kind of a similar vibe. Anyway, some could say this segment is perhaps a little too simple. Corpse comes back from the dead and kills a lady. It's pretty straightforward, but it's exactly the kind of shit that I like. I love the creepy monster design with its guts falling out. I love how tense it is. Sure, it doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it's a very well-made classic old-school horror story. The number 12 spot goes to Fur Babies from VHS Beyond, directed by horror veteran Justin Long and his brother Christian Long, who I didn't know existed until today. And it's very fitting that Justin Long would make this one, as Fur Babies is basically Tusk, but with dogs instead.
Bark! No more. Bark!
And it's really as simple as that. A crazy person turning humans into dogs who then become her killing machines. Fur Babies isn't fun and silly like a lot of the other segments from VHS Beyond. It's just straight up disturbing. The real standout here is this crazy played by Libby Letlow, and I don't know much about her, but she most certainly enters the Hall of Fame of memorable VHS bad guys. Part of me wanted to punch her in the face, and the other part was just awestruck by how great and horrifying her performance was.
Oh, don't worry. The swelling will go down soon enough, and then treat time will only be a good time.
Turns out a psychotic, crazy lady can be far scarier than any ghouls or monsters. My number 11 is Live and Let Dive, once again from VHS Beyond, directed by one of the guys from Radio Silence. And in this one, we follow a group of friends going skydiving, which sounds very fun until they crash into a f***ing UFO. This leads to a kick-ass freefall scene that somehow looks 1,000 times better than this $200 million Netflix movie. How embarrassing for you guys. But seriously, it's such a great set piece. It's chaotic, people are falling to their death, and we get a quick glimpse of the alien. Look at him go! Woo! It's a really cool scene. Then, once the remaining survivors return to land, they get haunted by the creature and killed one by one. Honestly, I love everything about this. The crazy skydiving set piece, the orange grove with an alien lurking around. I think the creature design is fantastic, the kills were creative and unexpected. Yuck! Actually, the one thing I didn't like was how shit the CGI looked, unfortunately. VHS Beyond takes place in modern day, so they can't rely on the blurry, noisy VHS filter to hide the CG imperfections. Honestly, that would have probably helped a lot, but otherwise, this was a good old alien invasion story, and I had so much fun with it. Up next at number 10 is the wraparound segment from VHS 85 called Total Copy. This one's directed by David Bruckner, who of course directed Amateur Night, as well as The Ritual on Netflix. I love that movie, can't recommend it enough. This one is about a group of scientists studying a mysterious shape-shifting being and trying to educate it by showing him stuff on the television, like 80s aerobics workout vids, of course. Lucky him. And right off the bat, I love the mystery and the tension here. They take their time setting this thing up. What is it? What does it want? Are we in control or is it playing us? Should we keep studying it or should we destroy it? I felt like I was part of the scientist group, asking myself the same questions they were asking themselves. The story setup is usually a low point in the VHS franchise. You're often just waiting for a monster to show up and kill people, and then that's when things get really good. But here, the setup was just as good and engaging as the payoff. And speaking of payoff, well, turns out this shape-shifting alien was not completely harmless. Who would have thought? In good VHS fashion, it ends in a bloody, gory creature feature nightmare with some hentai tentacles thrown in the mix. And then turns out it was a shitpost all along because it ends with a really funny joke. It turns out the monster just wanted to follow an 80s aerobics workout with his friends. Fucking hilarious. I love it. Total Copy is hands down my favorite thing to come out of VHS 85. It had a wonderful analog horror vibe, strange experiments, underground lab, mysterious otherworldly creature, and while the ending might not work for everyone, I thought it was genuinely funny. My number 9 pick is going to be Slumber Party Alien Abduction from VHS 2. This was made by Jason Eisner, probably most known for his movie Hobo with a Shotgun, and he also eventually turned this segment into a full-length movie, Kids vs. Aliens. In this one, these kids are pranking one of the boys' older sister, you know, filling up water balloons with piss and filming her having sex. The usual, just boys being boys. But then, aliens show up and start chasing them. And that's just it. It's very simple. I mean, the title says it all. Aliens, run! And first off, I love how they utilize the found footage gimmick here. Strapping a GoPro onto a dog? Yes. Yes! I love it! The classic old school alien design. I love that too. And man, there are so many good shots in this. Cinematography isn't necessarily the one thing that usually comes up when talking about found footage, other than the gimmick itself, but this shot of the alien swimming might be my favorite shot of the entire franchise. This one also is like peak sci-fi horror. Slumber Party Alien Abduction doesn't have much to offer other than people running away from these creatures, but it is undeniably entertaining and very spooky. I love me some old school alien abduction stories, and this one did not disappoint. Just don't get too attached to the dog though. Next up at number 8 is The Subject from VHS 94. This was made by the director of what many people consider to be the best VHS segment, Safe Haven. We'll get to that one shortly. And The Subject is about this mad scientist who turns humans into robot killing machines. It reminded me of that level in Resident Evil 8, you know, with Heisenberg and his robot zombie army. Kind of a similar vibe. But anyways, man, you just feel so bad for the protagonist of this one. A poor victim of these cruel experiments, just trying to make it out alive. It leans more towards crazy action than actual horror, but it was still a really good time. Very fun action, very disturbing imagery. The story is very heartbreaking. I mean, it's about people losing their humanity.
Benda ini bukan manusia lagi.
This was pure, insane, violent, bloody chaos, and it kicks ass. Up next at number 7 comes the single biggest surprise of this franchise for me, as it was directed by the guy who made the Thanksgiving movies?
Nice tits, bitch!
Oh, I was expecting to fucking hate this segment, but, I loved it. Use this as a lesson, kids. If you suck at something, try again, and you might get better. Yes, Stork is insanely fun. Now, the story is incredibly simplistic though. These cops go to a creepy old house to rescue kidnapped babies, only to find a bunch of dead-eyed zombie demons, as well as, whatever the fuck this is. And that's pretty much it. Obviously, you could say it's too simplistic, or derivative, or unoriginal. It's cops versus monsters. It's COD Zombies meets Evil Dead meets Wreck. Yeah, we've seen this before, but what can I say? It was still a blast. There's great atmosphere, really fun action sequences, and I absolutely love the monsters in this one. Again, it's a mix between Deadites, the Wreck demons, and COD Zombies, and that is right up my Kino der Toten alley. I get that I enjoyed this way more than most people did, and you might think I have shit taste, but in terms of pure dumb enjoyment, this was one of the highlights of this franchise for me. I never thought I'd say this, but I loved the segment made by the director of Thanksgiving 3. Just let that sink in. At number 6, we have a classic. It's none other than Amateur Night from VHS 1. It was directed by David Bruckner, who once again made The Ritual. Love that one. He's clearly a very talented director, and it shows with Amateur Night. Now, I don't seem to love it quite as much as everybody else, but it's still a banger. As I've said, this is from VHS 1, so you know the drill. We spend the first half of the story with these obnoxious assholes who keep sexually assaulting women until something bad happens and they all die. And sure, they do a great job at making me hate these pricks. Like, I get that that's the whole point, but it doesn't make for a very fun watching experience. It was irritating more than anything else. Come on, stop it. But don't get me wrong, when they find out the lady they want to gangbang is a nightmarish demon whose face splits open and wings grow out of her back, yeah, things got really good. I love how the monster of the movie is ultimately our protagonist. I never thought this creepy-ass demon lady would be the face of female empowerment, but here we are, I guess. Having her give the rapey douchebags a taste of their own medicine was very satisfying. There's a reason she's the most recognizable monster of the VHS franchise. It's genuinely a fantastic reveal, and though I might not love the first half of Amateur Night, it is undoubtedly iconic and it has a great ending. At number 5, we have the only good thing to come out of VHS Viral, Parallel Monsters, directed by Nacho Vigalondo. Am I tempted to make a Nachos joke? Yes, but I won't do it. Parallel Monsters is way too good for VHS Viral. It's so creative and unexpected. In this one, this scientist guy is working on an interdimensional portal that opens a gateway to what seems to be an identical parallel universe of his own. At least that's what it looks like. But when he starts exploring it, well, we get cosmic demon penises? Do I have to censor that? I don't even know. Let's just say it was a surprise to say the least. In any case, at the end, both versions of the same guy get killed by their wife, and that's it. It's over. So, Parallel Universe is pretty wild. It's a weird, creepy sci-fi horror short that mixes cosmic horror with body horror and a bit of creature feature and satanic lore. It's kind of like The Fly, except instead of the portal turning you into a fly, it transports you into a universe where your wife has a fanged vagina belly. What more do you want? VHS Viral might be a dud, but this segment most definitely is not. At number 4, we have Ozzy's Dungeon from VHS 99. This was directed by Flying Lotus. Don't know who that is. He's a composer, I guess. Anyways, oh my god, what is happening here? Everybody's dancing. Yes, that's cause we're in Ozzy's Dungeon, a place where kids participate in various challenges for a chance to win a magic wish.
Where boys and girls battle toe-to-toe for the opportunity to have their favorite wish granted.
And this one starts off as a full-on satirical parody of dumb kids shows from the 90s.
All right!
They turned that wacky dial up to 11 on that one.
Through the large intestine and then out through the poop chute escape route.
What the fuck is happening here? Now, we've seen cartoonish TV show host parodies a million times before, but this still managed to feel fresh. This guy from Grand Theft Auto 5 just fucking nails it. Definitely one of the highlights of the VHS franchise for me.
My family says that I can do anything I put my mind to.
Right. Sure, we'll see about that.
So yeah, I'm having a blast. The kids are going through the obstacles and oh my fucking god! Oh lord! Yeah, things take a dark turn rather unexpectedly. I did not see that coming.
Oh, for sakes, don't get that on my shoes. Don't get that on my... There you go, you're out.
And in another unpredictable turn of events, yeah, turns out this is now a torture porn revenge story. That's right, the little girl's big black fat mommy captures the host of the show and messes the guy up in various gross ways. And that lady gives the performance of a lifetime. I mean, it's something else.
You showbiz LA motherfuckers make my goddamn pussy drier than the Sahara Desert!
Sahara!
Shut the up!
So this nasty shit goes on for a little while until things shift again after the guy promises them the magic wish the little girl never got. So into the mystical cave they go, and then, oh my god, I guess we're in cosmic horror territory now, and everybody's face starts melting off. Jesus Christ. Okay, where to even begin with Ozzy's Dungeon? What a ride. This was a mix of hilarious, disturbing, nasty...
What's all the brown stuff? Well, it sure ain't bean dip.
And most importantly, completely fucking unpredictable. And I loved every second of it. That's the fun thing with VHS. Everybody has full creative control on their little short horror stories, and they can make the weirdest, wildest things imaginable. And Ozzy's Dungeon is a great example of the endless creative possibilities this medium has to offer. The whole thing felt like an odd fever dream, and it's overall one of the most memorable segments of the franchise.
And we have ourselves a winner! Drop it! Drop it! Good girl.
Let's ride on to our number 3 spot, called A Ride in the Park from VHS 2. This was directed by the guys who made the Blair Witch Project, which I unapologetically still love to this day, so I was really excited to see what they would bring to this franchise, and they did not disappoint. I feel like I love this segment more than most people do. I don't know, I thought it was great. A GoPro POV zombie apocalypse story? Like, what's not to like about that? So it's about this guy going on a bike ride through the woods and stumbling upon a group of zombies. But that's not it. He then gets bitten, becomes a zombie, crashes a birthday party to eat people, and then briefly regains his humanity when his girlfriend calls.
You butt dialed me, goofball.
Just long enough to realize he's become a monster, so he shoots himself in the head. God damn, VHS 2, that's wild. A Ride in the Park is a zombie story done right. Part-time George Romero, part-time 28 Days Later, part-time horror comedy schlock. All-time fun, baby. I especially like how it goes from a victim being attacked by zombies to a guy becoming a GoPro-wearing zombie going out and eating people. Our protagonist becomes the bad guy. That's such a fun idea. And the ending is one of my favorites. It's surprisingly sad and touching. All in all, I absolutely loved this one. Next up at number 2, I got one word for you, baby. Raatma! Hell yeah! That's right, it's Storm Drain from VHS 94, from the director of Watcher. Storm Drain is the first segment of VHS 94, and therefore the first segment of the VHS comeback, after Viral put the franchise to sleep for 7 years, and man, it is one hell of a comeback. Similar to Dante the Great, they took the mockumentary route, this time in the form of a news report, and right off the bat, I love the dry, sarcastic humor here.
It's time for sinners and elitists to get what's coming to them.
There aren't any Marvel quips or dumb jokes or anything like that, just very well-written deadpan humor.
Jeff?
Yeah?
Fuck you.
Copy that.
As for the story, Storm Drain is about this lady doing a news report on a supposed rat man living in the sewers.
Behind me, that's where I saw him. Right there.
Okay, we're done.
So they get to the sewers to investigate, and, well, they find Raatma. Now, the siren from Amateur Night might be the most famous monster of the VHS movies, but Raatma is hands down my favorite, by a long shot. This creepy bastard is amazing, look at it. Don't just take my word for it, the sewer cult loves him just as much.
In the name of Raatma.
Yeah, forget about Jesus or God, this is the only God we'll ever need. Storm Drain is so much fun, it's nostalgic, they even throw in this fun infomercial at one point.
Just mash and enjoy.
Otherwise, it has a fantastic monster, a creepy religious cult, and the ending? Best ending of this franchise, hands down.
Okay, why don't we cut to commercial? Jesus fucking Christ!
I'm Holly Marciano, Channel 6 News. Hail Raatma.
Thank God they decided to bring this franchise back from the dead. I am so happy this exists. Hail Raatma. And now, at last, at number 1 we have... Can I get a drum roll, please? I'm just kidding, you already know what it is. It's Safe Haven from VHS 2! Obviously! Listen, I have no idea how controversial my list is, if my taste aligns with most people, or if I'm completely off track, but if there's one segment that deserves the number 1 spot, I'm pretty confident it's this one. It was directed by 2 guys whose names I can't pronounce, one of whom made the Raid movies, so that's really cool. And this one is about a group of filmmakers making a documentary about a cult, and then, well, things don't turn out very well for them. Not only is Safe Haven the best VHS segment, it's one of the best horror thing, period. This one is goated, quite literally. Right off the bat, there's great tension building here. It's not too apparent at first, but you get the sense that there's something off about this whole place, and it just keeps getting worse and worse until it becomes a horrific nightmare. This cult is terrifying, right up there with the cultists from Wicker Man, Rosemary's Baby, and of course the Swifties. In between the chaos and the mayhem, there's also some surprisingly decent character stuff as well. This guy's girlfriend is pregnant with his best friend, and they're all affected by this in various ways. You know, it's nothing spectacular, they don't reinvent the wheel, but it's enough to make you care. It adds conflict, and the pregnancy subplot is, well, let's just say they pay it off big time. Anyways, as I've said, they keep building up that tension, but then, once shit hits the fan, things get wild. Disturbing visuals, great practical effects, an absurd amount of gore. It really got under my skin. Cults are really f***ing scary, man. Jesus Christ almighty! Safe Haven was chaotic and absolutely batshit crazy. It's so jam-packed with so many things. Cult leader, Antichrist goat baby, wall-crawling zombies, mass suicide, deranged sex. Actually, that was pretty hot. It's a nightmare. It's pure madness and insanity. It's gnarly, and everything somehow works about it. It's a delight, and it most definitely deserves to be called my all-time favorite VHS segment. Just like that, we're done watching every single VHS movie, and what a ride it's been. Binge watching these films back to back in a single weekend was a delightful experience. This franchise oozes with creativity, talent, passion, and even the weaker segments have something to offer, whether it's fun creature designs or inventive camera work. Now, if I had to rank the movies, it would probably go something like this: VHS 2, Beyond, 94, 85, 99, VHS, and Viral. But ultimately, it really just depends on what mood I'm in. Oh hey, here's some good news. Shudder recently announced that VHS 8 is officially happening, and I couldn't be happier. If there's one thing to learn from these movies, it's that horror has no limit. The potential is endless, and I honestly can't wait to see what else they got in store for us. Now, if you'll excuse me, I gotta go birth the Antichrist real quick, so until we meet again, keep watching horror movies. It's good for your health. Bye bye.